Imagine yourself lying in bed as you watch the snow fall gracefully outside your window onto the rusting robotic bucket of bolts wasting away in neglect. You hear your parents arguing about money again through the paper-thin walls, so you pull up the headphones of your Walkman, crank up the volume, and drift into your own imagination to the sounds of Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child of Mine. Life seems ordinary in Tales from the Loop, until you and your friends realize that the town you live in is all but. The largest particle collider ever built runs deep underground below your city, thrumming away like a mechanical heartbeat. Weird stuff has been going on lately, but why isn't anyone paying attention? Why does it seem like you and your friends are the only ones that care? In Tales from the Loop, you'll enter a world reminiscent of our own, only riddled with mysteries created by science's push to discover the strange and impossible. Let's dive into the lore behind Tales from the Loop. A lot of people like to compare Tales from the Loop to Stranger Things, but I'm more inclined to label it more as a Black Mirror if it took place in a retro-futuristic 80s. But I digress. Let's set the scene. Ronald Reagan is president of the United States. In Sweden, relations with the Soviet Union have deteriorated now that Soviet submarines are suspected of infiltrating neutral Swedish territorial waters. Tension is high as political conflict and whispers of nuclear holocaust are transmitted through any and all media intake. But that's all adult stuff and adult problems. See, in Tales from the Loop, you play as a group of kids between the ages of 10 and 15. So your typical main concerns are things like getting the high score in Super Mario, or finding out who has a crush at you at school, finishing your homework on time, and listening to all the killer bands that have started to pop up on MTV. All this seems pretty on par with reality as it goes for us, but Tales from the Loop diverges from there. In this world, a scientific discovery by the Soviets in the 50s called the magnetron effect gives this world their first taste of anti-gravity technology. Using this tech in Earth's natural magnetic field, the creation of floating crafts, or gauze freighters, was deemed suitable for everyday life. The Japanese company, Iwasaka, develops and perfects the self-balancing machine, giving us the framework for the now commonplace robot. Massive particle accelerators have been funded by global government agencies and built for research into high-energy physics. These projects formed under Synergy in Sweden and the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, in the United States. Both of these projects quickly became known to the locals as the Loop, as their shapes imply. These facilities partake in strange and often top-secret scientific experiments. The US's Loop originally was set up to investigate the possibility of teleportation between 2 points on our planet. But how much they discovered and how researched on that subject, it's quite unknown. What is known is that both loops conduct their business in secret, and the general public is left to speculate. From my description, you can probably tell that Tales from the Loop takes place in predominantly 2 locations. One in Sweden on the Malaren Islands, not too far from Stockholm, and one in the United States within Boulder City, Nevada. Let's touch a little on the similarities and differences between the two, starting with the Malaren Islands. The Malaren Island consists of 3 islands set within close proximity of one another, just west of Stockholm. Although the largest and most populated island of Svartjölandet makes up the majority of locations in the area, the center and sort of ground zero for the loop is on the middle island of Munsö. 3 massive 253-meter or 830-foot tall cooling towers rise into the sky over the loop, releasing heat generated by the gravitron, or the heart of the loop, that powers the entire particle accelerator. Even though it's still called the loop, it's actually 3 concentric loops circling the entire area. Defense Research Facility 13 here is classified and off limits to the public, which has fueled tons of rumors about what actually goes on behind closed doors. The smaller island to the west is more connected with nature, being covered in deep forests and very few residents. The more notable feature on the northern tip of this island is the Youth Correctional Facility, which houses a dozen kids or so and a staff that live and work there. The state agency that oversees the loop, Synergy, is the largest employer on the Malaren Islands, and for the most part is viewed favorably by the population. Jumping over the pond and over to the desert, we find ourselves in Boulder City, Nevada. Although being built nearly 20 years earlier, this singular loop is smaller than that of its Swedish cousin. Sporting a population of around 10 to 12,000 people, Boulder City pales in comparison to somewhat neighboring city of Las Vegas. Two of the major landmarks around the city being Lake Mead and the Hoover Dam. What started off as a model city inhabited by the original workers of the dam slowly quieted down as most of the population moved off to Vegas once it was completed. Everything's given plenty of space to breathe as the area's 208 square miles makes up the largest city by land size here in Nevada. That in turn means plenty of space to get lost and plenty of space to hide secrets. The dam stands a tall 725 feet or 221 meters and provides water and hydroelectric power to Las Vegas and nearby locations. The loop in this area was named the Department of Advanced Research into Teleportation, or DART for short. The T in DART is publicly known to stand for technology, but the governments keep their true research close to the hip. Even though the main building and center of the DART loop is outside city limits, the underground portion of the structure runs directly underneath a large section of Boulder City. Everything else here is pretty similar to the Swedish Loop. 3 huge cooling towers still stand near the center of the loop. Mysterious and strange things appear to be happening lately, and the loop has something to do with it. But honestly, when you're a 12-year-old, who really cares about that kind of stuff? Well, it seems like no one, weirdly enough. It's the 80s and divorce rates have reached a peak, leaving lots of kids living in single-parent or very broken homes. Adults are out of reach and out of touch, leaving their kids to raise themselves for a good portion of their time. Secret experiments are going wrong and random events have begun to spawn new, unexpected results. Only your childlike imagination limits what can happen in Tales from the Loop. This is a fight on 2 fronts. On one hand, you need to deal with everyday life, like who you're taking to the dance next week, and on the other, you and your friends are the only ones that know about the robot that's gained sentience and run off into the woods behind your house. Anything and everything can happen in the 80s that never was. Thank you all so much for hanging out and learning a little more about the setting and story within Tales from the Loop. If you like what you saw, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, and go check out all the other videos we have regarding Tales from the Loop and other game systems. I appreciate you all so much for sticking it out here till the end, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.